Simon, just so you know a little bit about him, he was in several rock bands in his wild youth, and then he turned to writing for TV and finally directing, and we're so glad he did, because he directed The Hunting and the Snark, which we're about to watch. Take it away, Simon.
Well, first of all, thank you all for tuning in, but I think I should say now thank you, Heather. She put so much effort into this, and she's been brilliant. She is brilliant. Thank you, Heather. So I just wanted to do a really brief intro, hopefully to get you in the mood, because The Hunting of the Snark is a surreal nonsense poem based on surreal nonsense film based on a surreal nonsense poem. It's about a group of Victorian men and a beaver going to an island to hunt for the elusive snark. But of course, it's more than that. So you just have to embrace the weirdness. It's a nonsense quest, but it's also an expedition into the mind of Lewis Carroll. And that is why, if you watch carefully, you might see the Walrus and the Carpenter, or the Cheshire Cat, or even Alice. You have to watch the film very closely. There are a lot of hidden things there. Okay, I'm happy for you to start showing the film.
All right, yeah, and I'm so glad I turned my camera off because I was blushing with all those compliments.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you so
honestly,
much.
There you couldn't. The applause was all across America. So thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you, and I will back up what Simon is saying. Pay so much attention. I've watched it 5 times, and I don't notice something new each time. I notice like 20 new things each time. And usually I say, hey, everyone, when you come up with a question, immediately put it in the Q&A. Maybe don't do that for this. If you have a big question about, the meaning of the film or the making of the film, definitely put that in the Q&A. But if you're having wait, did I just see who I think I saw? Or who was that? What's going on? I think you're going to have a ball figuring that out in the chat. You're really going to have a good time. So thank you so much for being here, Simon. And we will talk to you right after the film. So I'm going to cue it up. If you want to turn off your camera and mute your microphone, and I will too. And I'm so excited to premiere this. Yay. Let's welcome Simon back. And also Mark Richards is going to lead the post-film conversation. Mark of course, runs lewiscarrollresources.net with his wife, Catherine. He's been hunting snark since the 70s, I believe. And he is on the editorial board of the Snarkologist. So I think pretty qualified for this discussion. Before you get into it, though, I did want to point out I misspoke when I said I'm so excited to premiere this. Everybody, this film came out last week. It is on Amazon UK, it's on Amazon US, and it is so incredibly generous of Simon to show it to us, all of you, for free today, this very targeted audience. And I would feel very, very guilty, except I know that as soon as the conference is over, you're going to run over to Amazon as soon as your little fingers can click you there and buy the film, because it's a huge bargain, first of all. And also you're going to notice so many things upon further viewings, I promise. So yeah, you two take it away, and I will see you in just a few minutes.
Thanks for the plug.
Thank you, Heather. Yeah, my name's Mark. I'm in London, and Simon is joining us in Salisbury, I believe, which is about 80 miles southwest of here, in case you're interested. And we're on this little weird island full of strange, creepy creatures. Simon, firstly, thank you very much for allowing us to see the film tonight, or this afternoon, or this morning, wherever you are. And thank you for joining us. I have a few questions that I'd like to ask you, and then at a certain point, we'll hand over to Heather, and she will read out the questions in the Q&A. So if anyone has questions, please put them in the Q&A, not in the chat. To start with, Simon, let me say, I felt this was a film made of lots of threads carefully woven together, one of which was the music, which I felt started out in a rather calm, slightly jolly way, and towards the end became rather chilling and dramatic. So it comes as no surprise to know that your involvement in the film arts actually began in music and composition, and later you moved towards screenplay writing, directing, etc. Could you just tell us a little bit about your own background and journey there?
Well, I always start by saying I failed music at O level. It's not called O level anymore. I was a complete fail at music. But I joined a band and I learned piano a bit and I could play keyboards. And so, yes, I was in rock groups in London, not very good ones. And I got frustrated because we just didn't have any success. And so then I started doing television. And what helped me was the advent of computers. So you could write music on computers. And so I started doing that on TV. I did adverts, documentaries, moved into drama, and I'm finally doing feature films. But I did an opera. It's 26-minute. There was a fad for television operas, I suppose in the 90s it was. And I actually helped write, I wrote it and did the music. And so I was working on set. I knew the director really well, so I was talking with him all the time. And I realized it's much more fun than being a composer. When you're a composer, you just get, I don't know, your music is treated like a commodity. It's just another piece of the film. And, you know, a number of times I'd written a piece and it gets shifted, or you can't hear it, or things like that. It was frustrating, whereas you thought, you know, being on set, it was sociable, but also you're more integral to the creativity of it all. So I enjoyed that. So maybe that's enough. But yeah, I started writing and making films.
So where along the way did you come across The Hunting of the Snark, and at what point did you suddenly say to yourself, this has to be made into a movie?
Well, I came across it when I was a teenager, but I was victim of that terrible, the great smear that is all about Lewis Carroll being a creepy paedophile and things. And so I was put off it, which is terrible. Now I realize that's all rubbish. It is complete garbage. And I just happened to pick the Hunting of the Snark up in a local Oxfam shop. And I was looking to do a film that was surreal, used lots of computer imagery, and wasn't a conventional film. And it just made me think, oh yes, maybe this would work. And then I read it and thought, well, no, it probably won't work, because it is very unfilmy. There's no narrative arc. There's lots of problems with it. It's all blokes. It's fairly opaque. But, you know, you think about it and you pick at it and you work things out and you think, yeah, well, it could be a film, especially if you put more Lewis Carroll into it besides what's just in the poem. So that's what I set out to do. And that's 4 years ago.
Sorry, 4 years ago. Yeah. So to me, and I'm sure other people felt this, that we were looking inside the mind of Lewis Carroll here. And is it not more a film about Lewis Carroll than it is about The Hunting of the Snark? Do you see it that way?
Yeah, totally. And I mean, it is, when you read The Hunting of the Snark, there's nothing really obvious about what is being said. So is it about happiness, or what is it about? But it reveals lots about Lewis Carroll, I think. And he's putting, and we know what he was doing at the time when he was writing it. You know, his godson died from consumption. We knew he was on the beach with Gertrude Chataway, and she was, you know, talking about the Snark. And we know that, yes, that at that historical moment, all these things were important to him. I always say there's this diary entry. I think it's November the 1st, 1874, when he's reading a book that sort of undermines Darwin. It's sort of saying, I can explain Darwin and make it compatible with religion. And you can see Lewis Carroll is like really engaged with this. He wants to work out how these two can be, you know, the logic and religion can be put together. And so, yeah, it's all there in the Snark. I mean, obviously, my other theory is that he read Mysterious Island, or maybe his godson did, and he thought, let's just do a spoof of Mysterious Island, which is a Jules Verne book. It could be that simple, or it could be really complex. No one knows, and it's just my version. I fully acknowledge everyone else has a version of what the Snark is about, but I had this great opportunity to do it. Oops, sorry.
some creative people feel you should never go beyond the text that you're filming, writing about, painting, whatever. Others read the background. I know John Vernon Lord, when he illustrated his version of Alice in Wonderland, he read the whole of Lewis Carroll's diaries. One thing that's quite clear watching your film is that you've done quite a lot of research and you've looked at quite a lot of Carrollian things that many people haven't. We noticed, one person in the comments noticed Roman cement on being advertised on a building, which is Carroll's little short piece about novelty and romancement. So you've obviously read very widely. Can you tell us a bit about that? And was that necessary for you to do that for the film, or did you just find yourself getting drawn more and more into Carroll?
Well, yeah, I read it. Yes, having decided to do the Snark, I thought I must find out more about Lewis Carroll, and I read all his stuff, I think, pretty much all. And you think, all right, well, if I'm saying we're going inside the mind of Lewis Carroll, all these little bits and pieces are going around in his head, so they'd appear. And that's what I wanted to convey in the film, that they're not at the front of the film, they're just there in the back of the mind, back of his mind. And, you know, you can take it, I don't know, too seriously. I'm not being too serious about this, but I just like the idea that these little elements that he was thinking about all the time are there in the film. Now, I enjoy doing it. I just hope people enjoy seeing all the references. I think lots of people do. I mean, I've talked to lots of people, and you know, seeing Roman cement, romancement is pleasing. There's just hundreds of them, though, I should just say to people. So you do need to watch the film again so that you can spot them.
Certainly, there are a lot of people doing a sort of I Spy thing in the chat. So quite a lot of people saying, "Oh, look at that! That was quite interesting." So here's a question that I find that this is the mystery to me. How on earth do you go about making a film like this? I mean, do you have some massive chart of it, or do you take a more surrealist approach and just pull out what's in your own mind?
Well, I mean, we were talking about me being a musician, so I'm from the punk era and the do-it-yourself era, where you brought out your own records and things like that. And also, as a musician, I like jamming and improvising, and I tried to do that a bit with the film. So what we did, I didn't have storyboards and stuff like that. We had the poem, and so I filmed the poem fairly straight. I mean, when you see the poem in the film, it's fairly straight. Whoever's meant to be speaking the part speaks the part. The narrator tells you what's going on. I just have to say, I hope people noticed that it was Ramon Tikaram who did all the voices. I mean, he was amazing. All the characters came to life because Ramon was voicing them. So having filmed the poem, I then thought, I started to bring in the elements. I mean, obviously I thought about it while I was prepping the film, but it took a year to say film the poem, and then I was 3 more years gradually enhancing it, building it up, adding things. I mean, one thing was hope. Hope I knew would be, because hope is referenced in not in the poem really, it's by Holliday's illustration. And I thought, oh, I must bring more of hope into the film. So I didn't film Corinne, her name is, until 3 years after the first year of filming. So there was no storyboard for it. I knew there would be hope. We went to the woods, we filmed in my garden, filmed on the beach, and then I merged that all into the film. So it's quite an organic process, and a bit busky, bit improvised. But I can do that because computers are so amazing. You can integrate stuff. So
sorry.
No, that was it. That's the kind of sequence of events.
And you filmed quite a lot of beautiful creatures, remarkably filmed, done especially for this film, presumably. But I gather some of these were in your back garden, and clearly some of them couldn't have been in your back garden in Salisbury, because we don't have those creatures. So how did you get all of these wonderful bits of film?
Well, and most of them are in my garden. I don't actually live in Salisbury. I live in a place called Warder, which is in the middle of nowhere. So I've got we've got, I mean, not a very big garden, but it's a garden in the countryside. And I just knew I would have insects in the film. So whenever I saw one, I filmed it. I'd quickly rush indoors, get the camera, put it on a tripod. Sometimes it had flown off, but I got what you see. They're the best ones. I mean, there's loads of footage of insects falling off a twig and just when you're about to film them, stuff like that. Most of them are English garden insects, but then there's a few I filmed when I was in France. There was one in Greece. The beetle was in Greece. There's the thing pulling the caterpillar in, the wasp pulling the caterpillar into a hole is in France. There, I mean, I was in India and Jordan as well. So some of the landscapes are Indian and Jordan, but I don't think I filmed many insects there. I think this, no, sorry, I can't remember where I filmed them all, and mostly they are English. But I was amazed to realize how exotic and varied all the insects in my garden are.
Okay, so just I'll ask one more question and then I'll hand you back to Heather so she can go through the Q&A. Ramon Tikaram, what a remarkable actor. How wonderful are you able to get him? Had you, when you cast him, had you any idea how well he was going to be able to, I suppose, understand what you were doing and bring it to life like that?
Certainly. I mean, I know him and I'd worked with him on a film previously and we talked about it, and the main thing I was very excited for him was for him to do all the voices, to narrate it and then voice it. So we knew when we were filming the other actors, I'm saying to the other actors, sorry, you speak the part, but I'm not going to use your voice because I really want Ramon's way of doing voicing to be part of the film. Also, he's got an amazing face. I mean, he's amazing. He's just got so much presence. And I mean, we only filmed for 6 days. It's weird. It's like 3.5 years ago, me and Ramon filmed for 6 days. So it just feels a long time ago. But yeah, I mean, and it's sort of a partnership, us making the film, me and him.
But the
So,
other
yeah.
actors, the other actors tended to be people you knew and local people and so on, I gather.
They're all local people in that where I live, I think everywhere in England probably, there's always an arts and crafts community. So there's a lot of actors locally. So the bellman, who's Rafe Arliss, he's been acting for 50 years. He was in Doctor Who, he was in Grange Hill, and he's been in feature films. He's just ubiquitous over the last 40 years. But some of the others, where it's less demanding, the acting, I just had them for their face. But like Tom Wansley, the butcher, he was a child actor who was in a big TV series. I can't remember what it was called. I think in Canada. I mean, but you just look at Tom and you think, you're the butcher. And he was, you know, we did a bit and you saw him brilliant. Come and be my butcher, please.
Well, he definitely did. He looked the part and looked the most like the holiday illustration as well, I think, which worked really. Yeah. I could spend all night talking to you about this, but I think in fairness, we must let other people ask their questions, and there's some good ones in the Q&A. So Heather, back to you.
All right, and please stick around, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Q&A.
Look forward to meeting you again soon in London.
And, you know, it makes sense to use mostly English insects. You know, they're so much easier to direct. There's no language barrier, right?
Yeah, they're not at all temperamental. Actually, hoverflies are amazing. I mean, they've just come back. We're just having spring here, and the hoverflies have started coming back. And they are just how they just sit there. They're perfect for filming, but they do sometimes just as you start filming, they go. But I got some.
Temperamental.
All those
actors.
hoverflies, all the hoverflies are in my garden.
You know, this is reminding me of, we had another filmmaker on, Andy Malcolm, talking about his film Sincerely Yours, and he made this huge effort to get the right kind of butterflies that would have been present in Oxford during Lewis Carroll's time. And he released them, and well, they flew away immediately. And I asked him how long was it before he could laugh about that story, because that must have been kind of devastating at that time. All right, enough of my comments.
That's the joy of digital, is that I could just film a butterfly when I saw it.
There you go.
And then I put it in the film.
That is an amazing age we live in. A little different
Yeah.
from the phantasmagoria age of tape
Yes,
slices.
I mean, I was enjoying watching that because I mean, like the long takes she had,
Mhm.
it was just, you know, and all that and film and it was just what you get in the camera. Whereas hardly anything that you saw in the Snark was just in the camera.
That's amazing. All right, Q&A from the audience, the eager audience. Eric is wondering, was there any influence of Jan Svankmayer's Alice in Wonderland on this?
Probably, because I did, I suppose, when I was younger. And when I was saying I did this opera, TV opera, the director who did that TV opera really liked Svankmajer, and the way he filmed the opera was quite similar, and he influenced me. So I mean, yeah, is the answer.
And then
yeah, I keep thinking I must watch Svankmajer again because I know he did Alice in Wonderland, which I found a bit too creepy, but I do want to watch it again.
yeah, I have to turn in my Carolian card because I've never finished it. The Alice one, I can't do it. I just curl up in a little ball. So someone was asking about casting, which you already talked about a bit, like you knew Ramon, and most of the other people you chose for their faces, I assume, including the person who played Boots. They were wondering about him specifically and how you came up with the scene with Boots and the aristocrat.
Well, the thing about Boots is he's not illustrated in the book. He's the only one not illustrated with Holiday's illustrations. So I could choose whoever I want. And he is, in fact, a friend of my son's who just wanted to be in the film. And he's good looking. And he's a nice bloke and he was willing to do anything. So I said, okay. I mean, that is sort of one of the busky things about the film. But
that's fantastic.
So that's who Boots is.
And he does
His name's Jose.
Great face on Jose.
Yeah.
Rover is wondering, do you have any interest in mixing a soundtrack album? He loves the music so much.
Great. Yes, I'm a bit sick of it at the moment, so I will. Yeah, I will. I mean, I sort of have to in a way because, you know, you sort of collate everything. So at some point, I'm going to have to package the whole film. Yes, yes is the answer. I mean, I won't remix it in any way, but I will make it more coherent, I think, because it's obviously bitty. But thank you very much.
And also, speaking of packaging the film, we've got a lot of questions about Amazon that I don't know if you can really answer. So it is available on UK and US right now. Do you know if it will be available in other countries? And also someone is wondering if they fixed the reviews yet, because we have reviews from a different Snark movie are on yours, which is so frustrating.
So yeah, just to make that clear. So it is available in the USA and that's all fine. They haven't mixed it up with another film. It is available in the UK, but somehow they've mixed it up with the stop frame thing. So sharing the same reviews. So I've got all their reviews on my film, which are not great. So, and I've talked to Amazon, they said we'll clear it up, but it's such a big beast. You just don't know who's talking to who and when. But it is available. Sorry, it's only in the UK and USA. That's Amazon. You can't argue with them. You do what they tell you. It will be available globally later on, but I don't know when. And
I have to share with everyone. So, you know, I've talked to Simon quite a few times at this point, and I asked him, you know, just generally speaking, I know some directors who make enigmatic films, they want the audience to come up with their own interpretations and their own ideas, and they don't want to explain anything. And he said, oh, no, I'm not like that at all. You can ask me anything. And I said, well, great. What's hidden in the lagoon? You said there were 5 things hidden in the lagoon. And he said, oh, I can't tell you that.
No, I can't tell you that. That would spoil it. You've got to discover it. I mean, someone got close. Oh, I put it on YouTube, just that scene, and on Facebook, and someone got close. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of things hidden in the film that if I just say, oh, that's what it is, it sort of slightly spoils it. But one thing I do have to say is there is actually, so the baker has his conundrum, which is the 3 aspects of logic versus science. There is also another conundrum hidden in the film. So if you want to I mean, it's basically clues that lead to a solution. So if you want to watch the film, again, you could solve this problem. It's the conundrum. If you can be, I mean, it looks like some people can be bothered. Yeah, I do, because I mean, it's not, I don't know how difficult it is. It's really hard for me to know, but it's there.
Well, on 5 viewings, I have not solved it, that's for sure. So I'm going to have to go to Amazon.
You have to see one particular thing and then think, and then you follow that thread.
So I have not had my eureka moment yet. All right, that's fair.
I probably don't watch it again. Wait until someone else discovers it. All right. I think 5 times is plenty. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. And you know what? I think we're going to end here. You already talked a little bit about how, the origins of the film and why you did it. So that's part of Brian Sibley's question here, but I'm just going to read his comment before it because it's so lovely. And I've actually heard other people echo it. This is the most imaginative interpretation of a Carroll work since Jonathan Miller's 1966 Alice in Wonderland. Congratulations. So many clever, absurdist allusions to things Carrollian and to Victorian culture, science, industrial advancement, etc. And yeah, I've heard other people compare it to the Miller film just in terms of this is like the standard Snark.
That's praise indeed from Mr. Sibley. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I'm honored.
And again, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Simon, for being here today and for sharing this film with us. We're so appreciative. Thank you, Mark, for spearheading the conversation here. And I know we have a very classy audience and they're not going to walk out without seeing the closing credits. I do have some closing credits for the first half of our conference here. And we have a 20-minute intermission coming up. And I would ask that my afternoon for me, my part 2 speakers, if you could stick around, because I'm going to pluck you from obscurity and promote you to panelist from the attendees here. So I will be busy doing that during our intermission. And thank you again, Simon and Mark, and we will see everyone else after the closing credits in 20 minutes.
Get rid of ourselves, don't we? Thank you very much, Heather. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.